Is yours an emoji-friendly work environment? Hi, I'm Tanya Hall for ZDNet, and joining us is Lori Wright. She's the general manager of Microsoft Teams and Skype. So I'm going to get right to this. How is Microsoft creating tools to manage the communication differences between millennials and boomers? So you're fairly new, actually, all things considered at Microsoft. You're still kind of getting settled in, but you have a background in technology and in the Bay Area, in fact, and you've got a pretty big responsibility at Microsoft with communication, the way that it's changing and evolving. Um, what is with millennials and the way that they're communicating, whether it's dialogue or the tools that they use, and baby boomers, the way that they've communicated in the past, there's a fairly large gap there in communication. How is Microsoft creating tools to solve some of the potential issues in communication?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're really focused on is this new generation of work and really thinking about the modern workplace and how do people want to work today. And we're taking a really close look at that and, across the board and thinking about what are the technologies that have been used in the past that really help drive productivity and communication, and then what is changing. And one of the things that's changing pretty dramatically is the way in which people work. And when you think about just looking at the data, people are on 2 times as many teams as they were 5 years ago. So the proliferation of, being part of these working groups is happening. 80% of the time that people are working, they're in collaborative type settings. So they're in either a meeting like this, or they're in email, or they're in a chat session or something where they're communicating with another human being. That's 80% of time. But what's happening is you would think, well, gosh, that means that more people need to be together in the workforce. That means that they need to physically be more closely connected. But the data actually shows exactly the opposite. And I think we would all agree with that people are more remote than ever before. And, you think about the fact that it's no longer like working remotely, it's just working, because we all now, with the technologies that we have, the mobile technologies that are available, we have cloud, technology that's powering the ability for our data to follow us wherever we are. And so all of these things are really just fundamentally altering the way in which people work. So what we're doing at Microsoft is saying, now how do we think about what is the right way to empower teams that are geographically dispersed and distributed all over the place to do their very best work? And that is what we've done with the new product we came out with last March called Microsoft Teams. And Microsoft Teams speaks to this new culture of work and really kind of harnesses the power of people who are all over the place, whether it's in the office right next to me or, halfway around the world, for us to be able to collaborate, to be able to access all of the information we need at the same time, have real-time threaded conversations, use really fun expressive content like GIFs and emojis and all sorts of things that just really help with teamwork and bonding. And we've seen just great success in this product over the course of the last 9 months.
Okay, I'm actually pretty excited because you just said that we're using GIFs in office communication, and I applaud this effort on a personal level. I'm a big fan of using emojis and GIFs, but not everybody really takes that type of dialogue seriously. Are you finding that the age variance between maybe millennials and maybe some of the more tenured employees are communicating at the same level?
We did a study on this, interestingly enough, for our Skype business, and we looked at it and said, across the board, how are people using GIFs and other expressive content, and is it appropriate for the workplace? And the data came back, and it was really, really interesting. It showed that, more so than ever, that this type of content, the GIFs and emojis and things of that nature are absolutely appropriate in the workplace. But where you have to be careful is how you use it and when you use it. And so there are certain circumstances where if you're communicating on a serious topic, maybe it's not appropriate at that point. There's also a peer-to-peer type of, unwritten rules on which GIFs you use versus how you communicate with your boss or how you communicate with your direct team. But ultimately, the data said, there's a certain set of emojis that maybe you want to stay away from. But for the most part, that it is something that not only is appropriate, but is actually helping workplace communication.
Are there gender issues with potentially using more comfortable types of conversation like gifs and emojis, or is that a factor?
I think that there's probably not a gender issue as much as just certain things that are appropriate. Like for instance, the winky face emoticon was one that they said, hey, stay away from because it can come off as a little bit creepy in the workplace. There's also the heart emoticon that maybe that's one that's not super appropriate to send to a subordinate. And so thinking about those sorts of, rules or just conventions is probably more so than any gender specific issues.
So you and I have talked about this outside of this interview, but we really do work all the time. A lot of us, with having mobile device and having access to docs and communication, video conferencing, and that sort of thing. Has that had an impact on the types of employees that you hire to build software and design, or is that just a part of growing your business?
I think that just how you think about you just are always looking to hire the best team. And so is that very best team and where are you going to find them from? And the really empowering thing about technology today is it is opening up the workforce to be able to find that talent in remote parts of the world and still be able to work with them just like if they lived in the same regional area. And this is just like such a liberating, democratizing way of the world today where your talent isn't really limited to, the pockets where you physically live, but more so these technologies are now empowering to go find the very best person for the job wherever they are.
With remote workers, not just remote, like, in the same state, especially when you talk about other parts of the world, how do you build teams without them being in the same office and get them to collaborate at the same level as if maybe they were a cubicle over?
That is one of the things that we're most excited about the new technology that we have with Microsoft Teams and other tools that are happening out in the world at large to be able to really connect teams that are diverse and distributed but help them feel like they are in the office next door. And when you do have the right set of tools, you can do that very, very effectively. I feel as closely connected to my team sitting in Palo Alto as I do to the team that's sitting in the exact same hallway that I'm on. And that is because we have this shared set of processes and tools by which we all communicate and come together and share information. And so when you're thinking about how are you going to manage a remote team, you do have to pay careful attention to what are those underpinning technologies and how are you really going to empower your team to be effective across these different geographical divides.
How is artificial intelligence going to play a role in the future of inter-office communications? We're going to be wearing HoloLens and getting really geeky, or what? How does artificial intelligence play a role?
We're really excited about the future of AI, and we talked about this at one of our big events back in September, and are really just on the cutting edge of doing all sorts of things to revolutionize the way that AI plays in the workplace. And so one of the core areas that we're really doing this around right now is in meetings. And we all spend so much time in meetings. And how can AI really help you have a better, more efficient meeting experience? And so I think you're going to see AI play in the world where it's going to help prepare for the meeting in advance. It's going to help break down any barriers to communication during that meeting. It'll do real-time translation across different languages, taking meeting notes, being able to capture the right action items, and then after the meeting, be able to get those out to the right place and to support that follow-up. And from a Microsoft perspective, the world of AI is just so close because of the data that we have in our Microsoft graph. And if you think about all of the information, all of the signals that we're getting that help us across these different touch points, that we can look and we can say, you email with this person on a frequent basis, you might want to include them on this conversation, or you're looking for a subject matter expert in this. we know this person is the one that has the most information to go to. So we can use this graph of data to really support our AI vision.
Well, Lori, I am excited about the work that you're doing at Microsoft. I'm excited about your new campus. I'd love to talk to you about that sometime. And I really thank you for joining our conversation today and sharing digital communication transformation.
Thanks for having me, Tonya. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. That was Lori Wright. And you can, if somebody wants to find you, Lori, how can they go about doing that?
Probably any tool that's out there. So Twitter, LinkedIn, email, you name it.
Thanks again. And you can find me and my work here on ZDNet or Tech Republic, or you can follow me on Twitter at Tonya Hall Radio, or find me on Facebook by looking for The Tonya Hall Show. Until next time.